What's up, folks? How's it going? This is Waj. Hope you guys are all doing well. And today we have three smartphones at three different price brackets. And these particular ones that we've selected, I think for the last couple of weeks that we've been testing them, I think offer the most bang for the dollar. We're going to be taking a look at the $300 Poco Phone F1 from Xiaomi. Then we have the OnePlus 6T, which is around $550. And right next to that, we have the iPhone XR, which I think if you're going to get the new iPhones, probably is the best deal for the $750 mark. So let's get right into it and see how they compare against each other and see what you're really paying for on each tier. Now, first of all, when it comes to design, you can see that all three are around the same footprint and they more or less weigh the same amount, and they certainly feel the same in the hand. Now, when it comes to build quality, this is where the biggest compromise comes on the Poco Phone F1. It's mostly made out of plastic, and it definitely feels a little bit cheaper in the hand compared to the all-aluminum frame construction that's on the 6T and the XR. Now, in terms of ports and connectivity, this is where the Poco Phone shines again with the 3.5mm headphone jack, unlike the other two which require adapters or the use of Bluetooth headphones. Now, in terms of the security features, all three of these phones support some kind of face unlock system, but the big highlight feature on the OnePlus 6T is that it has an integrated fingerprint scanner directly embedded under the display. We do have a fingerprint scanner at the back of the Poco Phone F1, and besides Face ID, the iPhone has no real other biometric security feature. Now, moving on to the displays, the OnePlus 6T certainly has the largest screen size as well as the largest screen to body ratio with the thinnest bezels. You can even see that the camera bump is very minimal compared to the Poco Phone and indeed the XR. Now, in terms of the overall pixel density and resolution, technically the F1 and the 6T are very similar in terms of overall resolution, but since the Poco Phone has a smaller display, it has a slightly higher PPI count, about 403 versus 404 on the 6T. Comparatively, the iPhone XR is slightly lower than the other two, both in terms of resolution and pixel count. But if you take a look at the actual experience that you get out of all three displays, we're using an OLED panel on the 6T versus the other two are using an IPS LCD capacitive touchscreen display. But you can see that the color rendition on the Poco Phone is actually quite poor. It looks very desaturated at times, and the dynamic range in terms of delivering the deepest blacks and whites is certainly not up to par compared to the OnePlus and the iPhone. Furthermore, even if you tweak the colors in the UI, you're still never going to get the same quality and overall color rendition of the other more premium smartphones. Now, moving forward, in terms of the internal specifications, the interesting thing is that the OnePlus and the Xiaomi have the exact same internal architecture. They're both using Qualcomm Snapdragon 845 chips. They both have 6 gigabytes of RAM on the baseline versions, and you can get 8 gigabytes if you so desire. The Poco Phone does give you a micro SD expansion slot, so you can upgrade the existing internal memory versus the other two don't have that option. Now, in terms of the performance scores, taking a look at our Antutu and Geekbench results, you can see that the A12 Bionic is faster than the other two, which is not surprising since it's a much newer architecture compared to what we have on the Qualcomm side. But you can see that there's even a little bit of a difference coming from the OnePlus T to the Poco Phone, even though we're using technically the same CPU. It might be a better overall optimization, perhaps less throttling going on the OnePlus 6T, or better overall cooling dynamics. Could be a whole bunch of other factors, but we are getting slightly better performance on the OnePlus 6T compared to the Poco Phone, and the iPhone is beating both of them. Now, moving on, let's talk about the rear camera modules on all three of these smartphones. Technically, the iPhone and the Poco Phone have very similar specifications in terms of sensor size and overall resolution. There is also what appears to be a secondary camera, but it's actually a 5 megapixel depth sensor on the Poco Phone, just used for portrait photography and a couple of other things. Now, if you take a look at some of our sample shots over here, in terms of sheer clarity, when it comes to well-lit condition, you're going to see in terms of sharpness, overall color rendition, everything looks great on all three devices. But when you go into more low light situations where there's less light available, this is where the iPhone and the OnePlus 6T really shines. I think the iPhone is the best overall camera in terms of these tricky lighting situations, but the OnePlus 6T is not far behind, and the Poco Phone certainly struggles in low light situation, is more optimized for daytime photography. Now, moving on, let's talk about the battery performance. In terms of the charging capabilities, the iPhone XR is the only one that actually has wireless charge, so you can use stuff like the GoComma fast wireless charger, which is pretty cool. I've been testing it out. It allows you to charge in landscape, portrait mode, or even lying down. It's very versatile. Check out the description for more details about that. But moreover, in terms of size and capacity, the Pocophone has a huge 4,000 milliamp hour battery compared to the 3,700 milliamp hour battery we have on the OnePlus 6T, and the XR has a 2,942 milliamp hour battery. And after spending a couple of days doing some battery drain tests, you could see that logically with the largest capacity battery, the Pocophone had the highest runtime in terms of the Geekbench battery benchmarking tool. It got over 5,700 points and over 9.5 hours of runtime, versus the 6T got 5,200 points, about 8 hours 40-minute runtime, and the XR is around 4,375 points and 7-hour 22-minute runtime. Now, interestingly, if you take a look at our video playback test, the Pocophone, even though with the larger capacity, actually didn't run as long compared to the iPhone and the 6T. In fact, the iPhone performed the best over here at around 15 hours 34 minutes versus 14 hours 51 minutes on the 6T. And the Pocophone, despite having the largest battery, is probably not very well optimized, or the display is very power hungry, and it got a runtime about 12 hours 33 minutes in the exact same situation as the other two. But really, on that, guys, that's really it. Now, there's definitely a whole bunch of other smartphones that we should have included on this list, but if I really want to narrow three phones down in terms of what has the best bang for the dollar, I think really these three smartphones come into mind, certainly in this recent times. Now, most likely, if you're taking a look at pure performance and certain features that certain smartphones excel at, for example, if you want probably the best smartphone camera out there and one that has a decent battery life, the Google Pixel 3 XL certainly comes to mind, but that's at another price bracket compared to what we're looking at over here. But I'd definitely love to hear your thoughts and opinions. Let me know which you guys think has the best value-oriented smartphone that's available out there. And other than that, give us a thumbs up if you like this video, and we'll see you real soon. Take care.